Guys, and welcome back to my shelf. I have had a haircut and I am ready to take summer on by storm because I had long thick hair and I was so fucking done with it, so I got a haircut and I really like it. Today I have decided to do my July wrap up a little bit early because the booktubeathon falls in between months. It's really awkward because it starts on the 30th of July and then ends on the 5th of August. Do you count them as July reads? Do you count them as August reads? What do you count them as? And personally, and what I've seen a lot of people doing here on BookTube, is I'm counting them as August reads, so I'm wrapping up my July wrap up a little bit early because I know that I'm not really reading anything from now until the booktubeathon because I'm having a little bit of a break. So here are all the books that I managed to read in July. So I managed to read a total of 5 books this month, and they are 5 quite chunky books apart from this one, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, I managed to read 5 books this month and I'm pretty chuffed with that, to be honest. I know that I could have probably read more, but like, I'm proud of that. So the first book out of the 5 of them that I managed to get read was Scythe by Neil Shusterman, which is the first book of the Arc of Scythe series. I do have a spoiler-free review on my channel, I will link it below. And this book follows 2 people who are scythe apprentices, Rowan and Citra, who have to learn how to be a scythe, basically. And they're battling it out to be scythes, which is basically people who glean the population to make sure that it runs smoothly because death doesn't exist anymore, like natural death, the age of morality doesn't exist anymore. And so they are gleaning people, and Rowan and Citra are learning how to do so respectively while dealing with a lot of trials and tribulations that come with being a scythe. I thoroughly enjoyed this to the point where I'm now obsessed with the entire series. I think it's a trilogy and the last book is coming out next year, as someone pointed out on one of my reviews. I really thoroughly enjoyed it and gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and you can see more of my thoughts in the review. I thought this was amazing. Next book that I got round to in the month of July was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is about a young girl called X. I totally forgot how to pronounce her name. I'm so sorry. I'm so uncultured. She does say how to pronounce her name, but I read this quite a while ago, so I've totally forgot. So I'm just going to call her X right now. X is from a very religious family and she's not allowed any contact with boys. She's hardly allowed any freedom, but she absolutely loves writing poetry and speaking the slam poetry and all that sorts. But she's very insecure because of her parents and because of her religious family. She's never kissed a boy, she's never had intimate thoughts about a boy until she meets a boy from her class, and she is tied between staying loyal to her family or loyal to her, like, you know, new lover that she's kind of discovered. And she wants to learn all of these feelings that other people do, but she's not allowed to because of her religious and strict family. I thought this book was really good. I enjoyed it. That being said, it was a bit hard to follow at times because it is in an incredibly original layout. It is set out like a poem. Switching between the poems really often left me with a headache, and like sometimes the story was lost within the stanzas. It often wasn't, but sometimes it was. And I feel like this structure was a very risky move because it is so different and so fresh. I decided to give The Poet X somewhere between a 3.5 stars and a 3.75 stars because I was getting really specific and I didn't know where to place it and it was really annoying me, so I decided to give it that. And that's basically it for The Poet X. The next book that I got round to in the month of July is Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman, which is the second book in the Arc of Scythe series. I also love this book, but it wasn't as much as Scythe. I do have a spoiler-free review on my channel, like I do Scythe. I will leave a link to my Thunderhead review as well as a Scythe one down below so you can watch if you want to hear my full thoughts. Obviously, Thunderhead picks off where Scythe left off, so I can't really say too much about the plot because, again, it's spoilers, because a lot of Scythe's plot is a bit of a mystery and you don't know what's going to happen. And if I said about this novel's plot and like what it follows and stuff, it would have been a massive spoiler for Scythe, so I can't really say that much. But it is basically just following Scythe and the world of death not being a thing anymore, crime not being a thing anymore, Scythe having to glean people, and like the mystery of the Thunderhead, who the Thunderhead is. As I said in my review, in Scythe, in the first book of Scythe, we have Scythe's diary entries that they're obligated to write and like the sides are obligated to read and stuff. But with this one, we get a Thunderhead point of view instead, and I feel like, yes, it mixed the book up like the diary entries did, but often the Thunderhead parts for me really dragged and they sometimes weren't really necessary. Thunderhead is a big part of this book and it wasn't so much in the first one, but I feel like I still didn't really want to hear what the Thunderhead had to say because it's so unpersonal and so just like, we don't even know who it is, like is it even human? I'd prefer if the book had like the other diary entries that it did in the first one. I decided to give this a 4.5 stars and just knock half a star off with Thunderhead, because to be fair, it was gonna stand up against Scythe and there was no competing with that in my brain, so it did a pretty good job considering. The next book I managed to get read in July is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. So if you watch my weekly vlogs, you'll know that I pull out books from my TBR jar. I basically pull 2 books out of my TBR jar at the start of each weekly vlog and then decide which book I want to read that week. It's like a segment I have on quite a lot of my vlogs, and A Clockwork Orange has came out a very substantial amount in my vlogs. It's actually scary how many times it's came out. So it came out last week, I think last weekend. I decided to cave in and give it a read, and I DNF'd. The only 2 books I've ever DNF'd is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. No hard feelings, I just really didn't like it. Now joins Red Queen on the stage of officially DNFing. I've put books on hold, but there's only 2 books in the entire book universe I've DNF'd, and this was one of them, just because it is written in a whole different language that Anthony Burgess has made up himself. I think it's based on Russian slang, but I don't know. I just really couldn't get on with it. I couldn't make sense of it. I didn't know what was happening. All I really know about this is that A Clockwork Orange is about a gang, and they're quite violent, and like it's set in a time that's supposed to be in the future, and I just couldn't get on with it. I DNF'd at 45 pages, there's like 150 or something, and I gave it a chance, I didn't like it, and so I DNF'd, and I don't apologise for that. And the last book that I got round to reading in July is The Method by Shannon Kirk, which I literally just finished reading this morning. This story is very sick. So this book is about a girl called Lisa. She's 16, she's pregnant, and she's been kidnapped. She's been kidnapped by some people who want to sell her baby because it has blonde hair and blue eyes, and like they want to bargain it off to other parents basically. And she's captured in this house, I think it's a house, anyway I envisioned it as a house, with some other girls in it, and other girls have been found like dead and stuff, and it's a bit cray. Lisa is different to all of the girls in this house, or have been in this house before, is because she is more dangerous than her captors. From day one, Lisa has been planning to break out, and as you can see by the start of the chapters, it says, you know, days since being captured, and then suddenly on a day it says day of, and it's like, oh, what is she gonna do? Lisa is basically a dynamite stick waiting to blow off in all of her captors' faces, and they're really underestimating her when suddenly she switches and she absolutely breaks havoc. So this book is separated into 2 point of views. We've got Lisa, who is obviously in the captors and she's planning her escape and stuff, and we also have a different point of view which I didn't know existed, an inspector and his partner, which are on the case trying to find this other girl called Dorothy, who is assumably in the house with Lisa. But Lisa has this talent, you could say, with her brain where she can switch off certain emotions, and she doesn't feel fear, she doesn't feel love, she doesn't feel sympathy or anything, and while she's in this house she turns it off very much so, and she's not scared. She's different from the rest of them. She doesn't kick and scream, she just simply plans her revenge and her escape. My god, this was so fucking scary. It made me have really weird dreams about being pregnant, let me tell you. But books don't really scare me, and this fucking terrified the shit out of me. Like, I couldn't read this and sit at the edge of my bed with my back exposed because I was scared that someone was going to come and grab me. So it's quite scary, it's fucked up, and it plays with your head quite a lot. Shannon Kirk, you're a genius, but you have something wrong with you. All that being said though, there were some parts that I didn't really care for, like the investigator part I didn't really care for. She was a badass, but she did get on my nerves, Lisa did. I actually kind of would recommend, if you're a seasonal reader like me, to read this like in October, something like spooky, you know. I would have saved this, but it came out my TBR jar and I was like, eh. So these are all of the books that I managed to get read in the month of July 2018. My favourite had to be Scythe and Thunderhead, like hands down. The only book that I really didn't enjoy, this month was A Clockwork Orange, which you can't really see because of Thunderhead. So there was my July wrap up, kind of early, kind of like, you know, before the booktubeathon starts. I'm going to count all of those reads that I read in that booktubeathon as August reads, so my August wrap up will be quite dense. Thank you so much for watching my wrap up, and I will see you next time for probably my booktubeathon vlogs. I will see you then. Bye! I wanna watch them fly and fly and see them soar up into the unknown. But I feel just like a nerd watching birds, watching me here.